The council chamber reeked of arrogance. High above Earth's orbit, inside a colossal citadel, hung like a false god among the stars. The Galactic Council had just voted unanimously. The decision: they would invade Earth. No hesitation. Lizard-skinned creature in ornate robes, Counselor D, was already mapping how to divide Earth's land among the civilized species. Others chuckled. Earth wasn't even a Tier 1 world, just a backward rock with savage, outdated inhabitants. No threat at all, no planetary shields. Their weapons still relied on chemical combustion. Counselor Venlo sneered, sipping a glass of glowing blue plasma. Primitives, only one voice opposed. Ambassador Trin Young, idealistic, naive for his position. They're not just primitives, he warned, making the room pause. They're unpredictable. Silence hung the rays. Then Draw let out a gravelly chuckle. Afraid of apes with fire sticks? No, Trin said quietly, grim-faced. I'm afraid of what they'll do when they realize they've been pushed too far. Down on Earth, no one suspected a thing, except one man. Former Marine Lieutenant Dominic Graves had been hearing whispers for weeks. Strange static on secure channels, blackouts in satellite feeds, deep space listening posts, going silent one after another. And then the dreams. Every night visions of metal ripping through the sky. Cities obliterated by energy blasts. People screaming, not in fear, but in fury. In vengeance, something inside Dom had always been off since the war. His squad joked he had a sixth sense for danger. Lately, that instinct screamed like an air raid siren. He sat on the porch of his crumbling Montana cabin, watching the stars. He hadn't called his brother in months. His mother was wasting away. In hospice. His government had retired him. Pretended men like him no longer mattered. But when the sky flickered that night like God blinking, Dom stood and said two words aloud: "It's time." The first wave wasn't what anyone expected. No gleaming ships, no shimmering shields. It began quietly. Silenced power grids across Asia and Eastern Europe. Air traffic vanished over the Atlantic. Nuclear subs were yanked under like bath toys by unknown forces. By the time humanity realized it was war, the Council thought it was over already. But reports reached the Council's generals in orbit. Not just losses casualties, they're casualties. A scout ship above Chicago shredded midair by a hijacked satellite cannon. In South Africa, resistance fighters had set traps old mines, fused with reverse-engineered alien tech from Roswell. In rural China, a hacked drone carrier kamikazed into a formation, destroying 12 light cruisers. Improvising, a tech muttered. No, another whispered, pale and trembling. They're learning. Dom wasn't waiting for orders. He didn't trust the suits in Washington or the NATO general babbling over emergency channels. This was his kind of war filthy, feral, ruled by instinct, not strategy. He drove straight to the old Black Ops site, shuddered after the Mars debacle. He knew the way in, knew what secrets lay buried beneath the concrete and classified seals. Not just alien relics, but weapons Earth should have never built. Weapons for the day they'd have to stand alone. That day was now. He found the dust-caked case on the bunker's wall, his name engraved. Project Hayes, do not unseal. He cracked it open. The lid groaned like a crypt. Dust spiraled under the dim red lights. Inside, a matte black rifle, unnaturally sleek. Beside it, an injector glowing faintly Hades serum, untested. Dom didn't hesitate. He pressed the steel to his neck and drove it in. The burn came instantly liquid fire in his veins. His teeth clenched, molars cracking, knees folding. His body convulsed, muscles spasming. He hit the floor, eyes wide, the serum screaming through him. It wasn't medicine, it was a weapon. Genetic rewriting, an illegal bioenhancer from alien DNA. Globally banned after the first subject liquefied into bone sludge. But survival wasn't enough anymore. This was vengeance. 6 hours later, the first alien transport landed near the Ruins of Kyiv. No warnings, no diplomacy. Opened fire before its landing gear touched ground. Buildings vaporized, streets burned. Then came resistance. It started with a child, maybe 11, grabbing a dead soldier's rifle and firing blindly at the invaders. Han and Billion, but he hit. Panic spread through the alien troops. They were told Earth was weak, primitive, docile. But they didn't understand humanity. They didn't understand what happens when you destroy homes, slaughter families, and expect submission. Humans don't kneel, they fight, even when defeat is certain. Dom stepped from the bunker, body gleaming faintly in the moonlight his skin. Like polished steel, a side effect off the serum bonding with his cells. His vision sharpened. He could hear insects crawling through the grass. The rifle in his hand felt weightless, but more than that, he could feel them. Alien signatures, heat, trails, ship movements, high in the atmosphere. The serum had hypercharged his neural pathways. He was tracking them without even looking up. His salvaged cum crackled, weak, broken. A woman's voice, maybe FEMA, maybe civil defense, strained and half sobbing. They're everywhere, ... We lost Philly, ... barely holding Denver, ... We need a miracle. Dom didn't answer. He just walked. On the orbital citadel, the counselor's smugness was fading. The reports made no sense as cities should have fallen in ours. Yet some held. Others pushed back. No armies, no formal leadership, pockets of resistance, rising like antibodies improvised weapons, hacked drones, traps. They even downed a dreadnought, using weather balloons rigged with EMP charges. A junior tactician whispered the truth no one wanted to say. They're not organized, but they're dangerous. D slammed a clawed fist into the council's table. We outnumber them 1,000 to 1. Trin, quiet in the corner, watched panic creeping in. They're used to fighting fair, he muttered. Humans never learn that rule. Dom reached Salt Lake's outskirts by nightfall. The drone spotted him, fired. He didn't duck, didn't flinch. He raised the Hades rifle, fired one perfect. Shot plasma rounds straight through its AI core. The drone fell. He kept moving. No heavy breathing, no hesitation. The serum killed pain, erased fear, and sharpened everything else. By the time he reached the refugee camp tucked in the canyon, Ridge, they already whispered his name, Ghostfire. A legend. Before he'd even spoken, in the bunker a man approached. Greasy beard, limping from shrapnel. Ex-Marine, worn, scarred, but his eyes burned like men who'd lost everything but kept fighting. You Dom Graves? He asked. Dom nodded. The man chuckled bitterly. Thought you were dead. Not yet. Good, we're building a kill squad. Got intel on a command ship near Phoenix. High Council brass. Hit that. We send a message. When do we leave? Dom asked. They moved at night. Dom, the limping Marine, name was Brooks, and 7 others. A former CIA spook, a Ukrainian demolitions expert, 2 National Guard deserters, an old man who carried a flamethrower like it was his child, and 3 civilians who just wanted to kill something that didn't bleed red. The plan was suicidal. But that didn't matter. Humans specialize in suicide missions. History is full of them. They were banking on one truth. The Council thought humans were predictable, that we'd shatter under pressure. They were wrong. Humans get smarter when they bleed. By dawn, the convoy reached Phoenix's outskirts. The alien ship loomed like a mountain larger than anything Dom had ever seen. It blotted the sun. Inside, Counselor Venlo was transmitting home, speaking of cleansing speeches for his people, believing speaking of progress, of peace through destruction. It was his last transmission. Dom and the crew breached the perimeter using stolen ID tags. Brooks blew the first breach with a homemade rail spike, laced with uranium scrap. The rest was carnage. It moved like wildfire. Dom picked off guards with surgical precision, 1 shot per alien. He never missed. The serum still burned in his veins like lightning. Every movement calculated, every shot deliberate. No fear, no mercy. They reached the command deck in 11 minutes. Dom kicked in the door. Venlo turned, stunned, so arrogant. He hadn't even armed himself. Dom didn't say a word. He raised the Hades rifle, pulled the trigger. Plasma tore through Venlo's chest bone and muscles shredded like paper. Venlo crumpled. Dom turned to the others. Message sent. They rigged the ship's core for nuclear feedback, using its own drive to overload. The desert sky like a second sun. Orbit shook. The council panicked. Counselor D screamed for orbital bombardment. But before they could execute it, something unexpected happened. The humans hijacked the comms. A global transmission hit every alien screen. Dom's face filled them, eyes glowing faintly, voice cold and steady. We didn't ask for this war. You brought it here. You thought we'd fold. Break. Run. A pause. He leaned forward. You underestimated the wrong species. Then the feed Catan Earth responded, not with armies or fleets with rage. Every man, woman, and child with nothing left stood up and fought. The slaughter began. In the citadel, Trin turned to Drahu, was pale now, sweat on his leathery skin. You started this, Trin said softly. Now finish it. Dra didn't answer. Because for the first time in 1,000 cycles, they weren't the hunters. They were the prey. The phoenix explosion painted the morning sky blood red. Ash fell like snow for miles. And for the first time since the invasion began, survivors looked up and felt something beaten out of them long ago. Hope, but Dom wasn't finished. Not yet. Speaking of progress, of peace through destruction, was his last transmission. Dom and the crew breached the perimeter using stolen ID tags. Brooks blew the first breach with a homemade rail spike, laced with uranium scrap. The rest was carnage. They moved like wildfire. Dom picked off guards with surgical precision, one shot per alien. He never missed. The serum still burned in his veins like lightning. Every movement calculated, every shot deliberate. No fear, no mercy. They reached the command deck in 11 minutes. Dom kicked in the door. Venlo turned, stunned so arrogant. He hadn't even armed himself. Dom didn't say a word, raised the Hades rifle, pulled the trigger. Plasma tore through Venlo's chest bone and muscles shredded like paper. Venlo crumpled. Dom turned to the others. Message sent. They rigged the ship's core for nuclear feedback, using its own drive to overload. The desert sky like a second sun. Orbit shook. The council panicked. Counselor D screamed for orbital bombardment. But before they could execute it, something unexpected happened. The humans hijacked the comms. A global transmission hit every alien screen. Dom's face filled them, eyes glowing faintly, voice cold and steady. We didn't ask for this war. You brought it here. You thought we'd fold. Break. Run. A pause. He leaned forward. You underestimated the wrong species. Then the feed Catan Earth responded, not with armies or fleets with rage. Every man, woman, and child with nothing left stood up and fought. The slaughter began. In the citadel, Trin turned to Drahu, was pale now, sweat on his leathery skin. You started this, Trin said softly. Now finish it. But Dra didn't answer. Because for the first time in 1,000 cycles, they weren't the hunters. They were the prey. The phoenix explosion painted the morning sky blood red. Ash fell like snow for miles. And for the first time since the invasion began, survivors looked up and felt something beaten out of them long ago. Hope. But Dom wasn't finished. Not yet. As he walked from the burning wreckage, his earpiece crackled on encrypted frequency, deep military coding that shouldn't exist. Lieutenant Graves, a gravelly voice said, "We've been monitoring. Time to fan the fire." Dom didn't ask who. He just said send coordinates. Echo Base wasn't on any map or satellite. It was hidden in Nora's hollowed second vault, deep in the Rockies, powered by stolen alien tech. They'd been watching, tracking council movements, waiting for someone reckless enough to lead the counterstrike. Now, they had one. Dom arrived covered. In blood, ash, eyes glowing with serums, fire but cold, calm, steel. The room went silent. A woman stepped forward, mid-50s, military haircut, and a stare sharp enough to stop a heartbeat. General Harper, the last U.S. military commander. Not under alien control. She didn't salute. Didn't smile. You made a hell of a mess, Graves. You want me to make a bigger one? She smiled then. Barely. Hell yes. They gathered around a holotable, its projection flickering with static. Earth's defense was scattered. Broken but Echo Base had a plan. One that needed desperation, madness, and the miracle Dom carried in his bloodstream. The Council's central fleet is in low orbit. Above the equator, Harper explained. They're tethered to a gravity anchor in the Atlantic somewhere along the mid-Atlantic ridge. What's the anchor do? Dom asked. It stabilizes the orbital city ships, keeps them from shredding the atmosphere. Disable it. And it drops them. Dom finished. She nodded. We're planning to kill gods, she said. Fuck. Dom nodded once. Then we'd better hit hard. Was given command of Team Phantom, a rogue strike, team of Earth's deadliest survivors. Santos, an ex-cartel enforcer who'd once melted a tank with a fusion torch. Miller, a disavowed NASA engineer who turned drones into kamikaze swarms. One, a silent South Korean sniper, hadn't spoken since the Seoul massacre. And Red, a former priest who carried a shotgun instead. Of a Bible said God had already left Earth. They were monsters, ghosts, survivors. Dom looked them over. We're going to hell. Anyone not ready? Speak now. No one spoke. They launched at dawn covert submersible drop via deep-sea capsule into the mid-Atlantic. The ocean swallowed them whole. No lights, no contact. Council's gravity anchor wasn't just a machinette, was a fortress embedded in the seafloor, guarded by Kraken-like drones and neural minefields. No one had ever touched it. No one had ever been this reckless before either. Inside the capsule, Miller muttered, we're trusting alien tech to get us down. Anyone else feeling suicidal? Or just me? Reed chambered a shell. Only way to heaven is through hell, brother. Dom didn't flinch. Schematics burned into his retinas, uploaded straight to his enhanced brain. The anchor's heart was a fusion core. One shot, and it would trigger a cascade across the orbital fleet. Simple on paper. They breached the underwater perimeter using stealth gel and diving suits modded with alien dampening tech. One misstep and their bones would have liquefied under the pressure, but they didn't make a wrong step. Inside, the anchor pulsed like a giant heart. The corridors glowed blue. Aliens moved in perfect rhythm, precise, sterile. But they weren't prepared, because Dom's team didn't sneak. They stormed, said blood dripping from his mouth, a crooked grin on his face. Dom dropped off the bike, eyes burning, the last of the serum still fueling his fury. He knelt beside Jared. You stubborn bastard, Dom muttered. Jared chuckled weakly. Didn't want to make it easy for him. Dom checked the pulse, weak but steady. He looked. Around, plasma burns on the trees, scorch marks, alien blood splattered across the dirt. Jared had taken 3 of them down before he even sat. They sent more. Jared rasped. 5 total. 1 got away. Dom's jaw tightened, his mind already racing, tracking. He could feel the faint signature in the woods, another alien. Running, transmitting. He stood, lifting his rifle. I'll get him. Jared grabbed his wrist. Dom killed them all. Dom nodded once, eyes hard. Count on it. He vanished into the smoke, moving like a predator, silent and focused. The last alien thought it was clear that it had escaped. Didn't even hear Dom coming. 1 shot, center mass, plasma round. The alien collapsed mid-dash transmission. Dom returned, slinging Jared onto his shoulder like he weighed nothing. He walked back to the hoverbike, set Jared gently on the back seat. We're not done yet, brother, Dom said. You're going to watch us finish this? Jared chuckled through the pain. Damn right. As they rode back toward Echo Base, the skies above still burned with the wreckage of alien ships. The air was thick with smoke, fire, and vengeance. But Dom knew one thing. They'd crossed the line. Council had made it personal on Earth. Earth wasn't just fighting back anymore, muttered, blood streaking down his arm. Dom dropped to 1 knee, pressing gauze into the wound. Why didn't you call? He asked. Jared coughed, smirking faintly. Figured you were busy saving the world. Don't die. Not planning to. Neither said what they both knew. The aliens would. Come again? But next time, it wouldn't just be war. It would be personal. Back on the Citadel, the mood had curdled from arrogance to panic. Counselor Draw paced like a caged animal, frothing, shouting at the generals. We are the apex species of the galaxy. Do not lose to feral humans with sharpened rocks. No one answered because losing was exactly what was happening. Trin stood apart, silent, unreadable. Then his voice cut through the chamber. You watch that Graves creature destroy our fleets. You see what they're doing now. It's rising, adapting faster than any model we predicted. Draw snarled. They're doing more than adapting. They're becoming something else. They're becoming something else. What does that mean? Another counselor spat. They're evolving. Those we enhanced like Graves the serum didn't kill him. It unlocked something. It's not just human anymore. Trin stepped closer to Draw. And you're afraid of him? Draw scoffed, but didn't deny it. Trin's eyes narrowed. You should be. Echo Base was running out of time. Word spread fast. The Council was deploying a new weapon. Not a fleet. Not a dreadnought. A Hunter-class Apex unit. Codename. The Hollow Vat-Grown. Engineered from the DNA of every species the Council had ever conquered. Wrapped in living armor. Its mind a singular consciousness bred to kill. No diplomacy. No mercy. Just one directive. Bring me Graves. It landed in Nevada, in the ruins of old Las Vegas. 5 resistance bases gone in 3 hours. No survivors. It was linked directly to the Citadel learning as it killed. And now it hunted. Dom felt it coming. Deep in his bones, the serums. Rewired nerves told him. Pull like gravity drawing him toward the inevitable. He didn't run. Picked the battlefield himself, the Dust Bowl. A dead wasteland of rusted war machines and endless ash storms. No cover, no help. Just him and... The Hollow Dot asked ChatGPT. Muttered, blood streaking down his arm. Dom dropped to one knee, pressing gauze into the wound. Why didn't you call? He asked. Jared coughed, smirking faintly. Figured you were busy saving the world. Don't die. Not planning. 2. Neither said what they both knew. The aliens would come again. But next time, it wouldn't just be war. It would be personal. Back on the Citadel, the mood had curdled from arrogance to panic. Counselor Draw paced like a caged animal, frothing, shouting at the generals. We are the apex species of the galaxy. We do not lose to feral humans with sharpened rocks. No one answered because losing was exactly what was happening. Trin stood apart, silent, unreadable. Then his voice cut through the chamber. You watch that Graves creature destroy our fleets? You see what they're doing now? Rising, adapting faster than any model we predicted. Draw snarled. Trin's gaze hardened. They're doing more than adapting. They're becoming something else. What does that mean? Another counselor spat. They're evolving. Those we enhanced like Graves the serum didn't kill him. It unlocked something. He's not just human anymore. Trin stepped closer to Draw. And you're afraid of him? Draw scoffed, but didn't deny it. Trin's eyes narrowed. You should be. Echo Base was running out of time. Word spread fast. The Council was deploying a new weapon. Not a fleet. Not a dreadnought. A Hunter-class Apex unit. Codename. The Hollow Vat-Grown. Engineered from the DNA of every species the Council had ever conquered. Wrapped in living armor. Its mind a singular consciousness bred to kill. No diplomacy. No mercy. Just one directive. Bring me Graves. It landed in Nevada, in the ruins of old Las Vegas. 5 resistance bases gone in 3 hours. No survivors. It was linked directly to the Citadel learning as it killed. And now it hunted. Dom felt it coming. Deep in his bones, the serum's rewired nerves told him. Pull like gravity drawing him toward the inevitable. He didn't run. He picked the battlefield himself, the Dust Bowl. A dead wasteland of rusted war machines and endless ash storms. No cover. No help. Just him and the hollow. Bother with high-tech weapons this time. This fight wasn't about science. It was about... Will Jared patched him up the best he could, taping ribs, injecting another serum dose. This one was unstable. It could kill Dom in 10 minutes, or turn him into something else entirely. Still crazy, Jared muttered, handing him the last. Of their ammo, Dom loaded his rifle, slung it over his shoulder, grinning. Wouldn't be me if I wasn't. Then he walked into the storm. The hollow fell from the sky like a meteor didn't land. It crushed the earth. 30 feet tall, man-shaped, but monstrous, twice as fast, twice as strong. Armor fused to flesh. No eyes, just sensors, scanners, and rage. Dom didn't flinch. He raised his weapon, fired. Plasma round pinged off its shoulder in a shower of sparks. The hollow turned. No roarge. Just a sound like laughter, broken and mechanical. Then it charged. Dom ran not in fear, but by design. First phase, keep. Distance. Let it think he was scared. Make it chase. The hollow ripped through the battlefield, claws tearing apart rusted tanks and wrecked drones like paper. Dom spun, fired into a joint behind its knee, made it stumble. Then he vaulted a tower ruin, hurled a grenade at its back. Direct hit. Flames burst across its armor, but it didn't slow. The hollow laughed again. You are not the first, it growled, a voice of static and screams. You will not be the last. Dom's eyes narrowed. Yeah, but I'll be the one who kills you. They fought for hours, turning the Dust Bowl into ruins within ruins. Dom's suit was shredded. Blood poured from half a dozen wounds. Vision. Blurry, but he kept moving. The blade under the hollow's ribs twisted. It stabbed him through the shoulder. He roared, ripped its arm off in return. No tactics, no mercy. Just rage. Then Dom saw it, the power core, pulsing beneath cracked chest plate, exposed, flickering. Final shot. One chance. Dom lunged as the hollow raised a claw for earth, he whispered, and pulled the trigger. The core exploded in. A flash of blinding light swallowing them both. Then, silence. Hours later, Jared and the Resistance found him buried in the crater. Broken body, barely breathing, but alive. Somehow still alive. The hollow was dead, its remains scattered. Like alien bones. Dom Graves had done the impossible again, and on the Citadel, the Council watched the footage in horror. Their ultimate weapon gone. When one message echoed across the stars, you don't conquer Earth, you survive it if you're lucky. Dom lay in that crater for hours, pulse weak, bones shattered, nerves fried, his face half swollen, the serum burned out, overclocking his heart, pushing his body beyond human limits. A normal man would have died 5 times already, but Dom Graves wasn't normal anymore. He was Earth's last edge, the line between extinction and survival. Jared rode in the evac skimmer, gripping Dom's hand like he could anchor him to life. You hear me, Dom? You're not dying. Not now. Dom didn't answer, but his fingers twitched, still fighting. Echo base locked down. Medics worked silently. Command scrambled. The death of the hollow changed everything. Earth smelled blood. General Harper paced. Before the strategy table, the last Citadel transmission had leaked Counselor Drawl raging, calling Graves a freak, demanding his head displayed across the systems as a warning. It backfired. That broadcast didn't. Frightened Earth, across the globe, began building strike teams. Civilians armed up in droves. Captured Council tech was repurposed into anti-air cannons and stealth drones. Humanity was turning into a war machine, but Harper knew it wasn't enough. This had to end before the Council regrouped. They needed to hit the heart of the enemy, the Citadel itself. And only one man could lead that mission. But he was dying. Dom woke in a haze, tubes in his arms, bandages covering most of his body. The room was dim, silent, except for Jared snoring in a chair beside him. Head slumped on his chest. Dom's voice was dry, cracked. You always snore that loud. Jared jerked awake, nearly falling off the chair. Jesus, Dom, you're alive. Barely, you damn lunatic. You fought that thing 3 hours straight. You punched it in the throat. Dom smiled weakly. It laughed at me. Yen, now it's ash. Medic walked in, relief washing across her face. You shouldn't even be conscious. At last serum nearly liquefied your heart. You need rest. No time, Dom croaked. Status. She hesitated. Echo's prepping something big, but General Harper said nothing moves until you sign off. Dom gritted his teeth. Then get her in here. Harper entered like a storm, all focus and steel. You look like hell. Or feel worse, Dom. Muttered, what have you got? She dropped a data pad onto the tray. The Citadel's orbit is decaying. The gravity anchor's destruction destabilized them. We've got a week before they either relocate or fall apart. That's our window. 4. What? To invade? Dom raised an eyebrow. You're serious? I'm done playing defense, Harper snapped. We hit them now, while they're bleeding. Small team. Phantom level. You, me, anyone you trust. We get in, disable their central AI, sabotage the power core turn that floating coffin into. A tomb? You want to breach a galactic fortress with a fire team? I want to end this war? Dom stared at her. His body screamed. Rest, heal, survive. But Earth didn't need survival. It needed vengeance. He nodded. I'll lead. The team formed within hours. Small, lethal, relentless. Jared, refusing to leave Dom's side. Santos, fresh from detonating a black site in Spain. One, silent and deadly. Harper herself, because she'd never send others where she wouldn't go. And Red, the former priest, who muttered, every heaven needs a devil. They boarded. A repurposed alien interceptor, stripped, modified, it's barely holding together by welded steel and prayer. Miller, the engineer, patched it as best he could. 2 hours is all I need, Dom said. He faced his team. This isn't about winning. It's about making damn sure they never try this again. Making sure every counselor remembers the price of underestimating Earth. He locked eyes with each of them. We go in hard. Come out, Legends, or we don't come out at all. No one flinched. The doors sealed. The ship launched, punching through atmosphere and reaching orbit faster than expected. The Council forces were in chaos, ships scattered, scrambling to stabilize. The Citadel, once an icon of dominance, now hung in space like a rusted god, bleeding from its seams. Still vast, still deadly, but no longer untouchable. Miller's stealth rigs held, until they reached boarding distance. A side docking port, dark and unguarded. The Council hadn't anticipated an attack, not here, not in their sanctum. Dom smiled. Always the same mistake. They breached. Hell followed. Inside, alarms screamed. Counselor Draw raged, clawing. At displays, demanding answers. How do they breach us? Trin said nothing. He simply watched the feed. Watched Dom Graves storm through corridors, one arm still in a cast, scars crisscrossing his body, eyes burning. The last ghost of Earth, Trin, leaned in, whispered quietly, because you made him necessary. The assault was surgical. Quan cleared halls with clean, precise shots, no wasted movement, no hesitation, bodies dropped. Toso planted explosives along key supports, cutting off Council reinforcements. Harper navigated the labyrinth, reading alien schematics like scripture. Jared never left Dom's side, watching his back, steadying him when the serum made his legs wobble. And Dom was a storm. He fought with nothing left to lose. Bullets, blades, fists, every step forward was carnage. The Citadel's elite guard couldn't stop him. They'd burned in his path. But the AI core wasn't unguarded. The Council's final protocol had activated the Sentinel protocol. That's when they saw it, the last failsafe, a Council clone, designed from Dom's own DNA, serum-enhanced, battle-forged in simulations. Trained to believe it was the real Dominic Graves. Their twisted trump card. It stepped from the shadows, Dom's face staring back stronger. Faster, colder. You're obsolete, it said. Dom limped forward, bleeding, grinning. But I'm still human. Then they fought. No taunts. No speeches. Just a brutal clash to titans, locked in a savage dance of death. The clone fought perfectly, Every strike measured, precise, lethal. But Dom had something the clone couldn't replicate. Memory, purpose. He took blows that should have ended him. Bones broke, blood spilled. He kept going. Jared tried to jump in, once Dom shoved him back. This one's mine. At last. Dom seized the clone by the throat, slammed it against the AI core. His voice roared, "This is what makes us different." He headbutted the clone, shattering his own nose. "You ever think about stopping?" Jared asked quietly, letting this all go. Dom stared at the skyline, ragged, still bleeding, still standing. "No," he said, "because monsters don't get to rest." Jared shook his head, the ember of his cigarette glowing between his fingers.
You're
"Not a monster, Dom?" Dom finally looked at him, eyes darker than before, the serum still lurking behind them. "Then why does it feel like one's wearing my skin?" The city hummed below, half rebuilt, half ruins. Somewhere someone was plotting, somewhere someone was still suffering. The war was over, but the fight never really stopped. And as long as humanity needed a reminder that Earth was no one's to conquer, Dominic Graves would keep fighting because, when the universe forgot who humans were, they'd make them remember. Dom stood over him, fists clenched. "You came after a child." "That's no child," the man spat. "That's the future you're too blind to kill." Dom leaned close, voice like gravel. "You're right about one thing. It is the future. But whether it grows up as a threat or as hope, that's on us." The man laughed. "You'll regret keeping it alive. We'll make sure of that." Dom didn't blink. "No, you won't." He ordered the prisoner sent to Echo Base for interrogation, but the message was already spreading. Was under siege not just by weapons, but by fear, by ideology. That night, Dom sat beside Ash, who slept fitfully, bandages wrapped tight. Jared stood nearby, shotgun across his chest. "You can't protect him forever," Jared warned. Dom stared into the dark. "I don't have to. I just have to protect him. Long enough, ... so he never has to run again." Outside, the wind howled through the broken peaks. War was coming again. This time it wasn't aliens. It was humans. And Dominic Graves, battered, broken. Unyielding, was ready to remind them why Earth had survived in the first place. Dom shook his head. "No, this isn't your fight." Ash's voice was quiet, but firm. "It is. They want me dead. If I hide, they'd win." Dom stared at him, seeing not just the frightened child he'd pulled from the ice, but something sharper now, stronger. Jared arrived, then shotgun slung over his shoulder. "I figured you'd try to sneak off without backup. It's not happening." Dom looked between them, his brother, the last remnant of the council, and himself. A man half dead and still standing. "Fine," Dom muttered, "but we do this my way. No armies. No fleets. Just us." Jared grinned. "Sounds familiar?" Ash nodded. "Sounds human." And so they left Bastion behind under heavy guard, under Harper's reluctant watch. The Revenant had called them to Black Hollow once, a mining city, now an iron-born fortress. Dom wasn't walking into a battle, he was walking into an execution. And he was ready to remind them why Earth never stayed dead. Dom nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's time you stop being the last of them," Ash frowned. "What else can I be?" Dom looked out over the shattered world, cities rebuilding, smoke still rising in the distance, flags of dirt and blood flying proud. "Be the first," Dom said, "of something new." Ash was quiet for a long time, then whispered, "Like you." Dom almost smiled. "No. Better than me." And together, they stood watch as the night stretched on to survivors, not of the same blood, not of the same world, but of the same war. Earth wasn't safe. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was still standing. And as long as it stood, so would they. Dom looked up. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, he heard something in Ash's voice that hadn't been there before. Not curiosity, not caution. Faith, not in gods, not in causes. In him and on. For a man like Dom Graves, faith was the one thing he'd never known what to do with. Ask ChatGPT-esque ChatGPT-esque ChatGPT.